Hello, it's Mike Stiles. Here's the Content Marketing Quickie for the week ending December 3rd. Heading into December, it's always fun to start predicting what's coming, and that's what Yaniv Makeover, the CEO of Kiwi, did for iMedia with 6 ways content marketing will change in 2016. 1. We'll finally embrace the mobile dynamic and get out of the browser mentality. 2. You publishers will get comfy with your content being read off-site. 3. We'll start leveraging content data to get cross-platform visibility. 4. You publishers will leverage your audiences for a new source of ad revenue and to strengthen relationships with brands. 5. Paid distribution will no longer be a dirty little secret for publishers. And 6. Kittens will no longer cut it, meaning even though kittens are wildly popular, business goals must be achieved. 7. All brands will just turn over their content marketing to Red Bull because they know how to do it. Just kidding, that one was mine. I told you, didn't I tell you, about GE's super cool sci-fi podcast called The Message, further proving that if you listen to this podcast, you'll know things early. I personally liked it and wasn't alone. It hit number 1 on iTunes. How? Don't you wish your brand's podcast could do that? Oh, you don't have a podcast. Then I guess it couldn't. All those involved believe the reason it hit number 1 is it's a great show that happens to be from a brand, not an ad. Laura Hazard-Owen reports on Neiman Labs. Slate's Panoply Podcast Network ran and paid for the production, hiring the writer, actors, producers, and sound designers. GE came up with the idea, gave feedback during the writing, writers just love that, and created a universe around the show by making spin-off websites. Panoply's Chief Content Officer Andy Bowers says this is just one of many business models they're trying out. Hope it's okay with you that Google wants to make money on mobile search, because that's what they're doing. Media Post's David Rodnitsky says on desktop, paid ads usually take up about 70% of the coverage range, but when he did commercial intent searches on Android and Apple devices, 100% of the above-the-fold real estate was ads. And he was being kind because if he scrolled further, it was really more like 120%. So if that's the case, your top SEO ranking isn't really at the top. It's on down the screen. David says if your mobile search traffic is plummeting, that might be why. But you're a content marketer, so you're actually in great shape because your stuff is getting discovered through social sharing. So I was curling up reading GPS Business News because that's the kind of irresistibly sexy guy I am, and I discovered that content marketing has found its way onto Maps. NavAds is based in Amsterdam but just opened a U.S. presence in California. What they do is provide up-to-date branded location content to navigation and maps. They've got the hookups with TomTom Maps, Here Maps, Apple Maps, Factual, and a bunch of others, and handles more than 250,000 listings for over 100 enterprise customers. They only have 29 employees, but they've got resellers and platform syndication partners. Gideon Rubin will head the U.S. office. Euromoney Institutional Investor surveyed over 200 senior marketing, sales, and comms executives across Europe and found out if you have anyone at your company who's thinking, thought leadership is one of the most important B2B strategies. Important, yes, but effective? These execs still aren't so sure. $100 billion is being spent on content marketing and thought leadership, but as one financial services exec points out, it will become more difficult to stand out among these very saturated channels. Lori Fullerton reports in The Drum only 50% thought their content was interesting enough to engage with their audience. 35% said, we don't even really know what content our audience is interested in. Still others said, not only that, we don't know the best channel for publishing our thought leadership. What they do know is their biggest challenges are getting more traction and the right audience. I know you're okay with mobile pages that take forever to load and look horrible when they do, but others aren't nearly as easygoing as you. So Google is telling us by early next year their Accelerated Mobile Pages, or AMP, project would be live. You're hearing a lot more discussions these days about the intersection of user experience and content marketing. That's because if the experience is, say, infuriating, it stops mattering how good the content you're putting out there is. So Google's been testing with content from the BBC, News Corp, and others to make sure everything loads like lightning. And it's open source. 4,500 developers, analytics companies, and ad networks are creating what Google calls incredible momentum. And Castleford Media points out the open sourceness makes it quite different from Facebook's instant articles. Google says speed and user experience. This is the mantra of the AMP project. G'day, Australia. The number of marketers there using content marketing has gone down from 89 to 81%, according to a Content Marketing Institute report. Your first question is probably why? Well, I don't know. What I do know are stats included in the report. While the number using it has gone down, spending on it has gone up 3 points, a trend 58% expect to continue over the course of 2016. Ben Ice writes in Marketing, the biggest challenge is making engaging content, but doing so is also the biggest priority. Social is the most popular platform for distribution. 92% of orgs use it. That's followed by website articles, photos, and e-newsletters. When they talk about what's the most effective for them, they say in-person events with social close behind. LinkedIn is the most popular social platform, by the way. And 4 growing strategies weren't in last year's top 10 at all. Webinars, books, ebooks, and illustrations. You see a news story about how women are swooning over Adele's bodyguard. You are so desperate to talk about this with someone, but because you still need to function in society, you don't want to just post about it on Facebook for all your friends to see. Breaker, a new messaging app, has people with dilemmas like yours in mind. You can find stories from hundreds of sources based on the interests you tell the app. Then if you want to talk about a story with someone, you don't have to go to a messaging app. You do it right from Breaker. Shaylo Rao used to be an intern at Google and learned Google Chat users would send a link to several people but didn't want a group chat about it. Now he's Breaker's CEO. Still, you can message an individual or a group on Breaker. I hope this doesn't scar you for life, but Snapchat likes to make money. So Brian Rubin of Best Techie is obligated to report they launched Discover. What Discover is all about is content creators and sponsors curate stories they want you to see. And that's what you see there. There's nothing there that's about what you want to see or what your Snapchat connections thought was interesting. Content creators include ESPN, Comedy Central, Yahoo, and Vice. So Brian says Discover's basically the commercial channel on Snapchat. But if there's got to be a commercial channel, it's a relatively non-invasive way for Snapchat to get some revenue. But if you want to say something else positive about it, users probably do see stories and content they might not have come across otherwise. Are you serious enough about your drinking that you want liquor delivered directly to your home? Drizzly does that. It's a tech company that'll do that for you, provided you live in the U.S. And increasingly, Drizzly is looking to add inspirational content to that unique shopping experience, as if you needed much inspiration to drink. Anyway, to that end, they hired Trisha Antonson, who used to be editorial director at Wayfair, as editor-in-chief. I guess I'll go ahead and tell you her other title at Drizzly, Chief Cocktail Officer. Now, there's a job you didn't hear about at your college career fairs. She'll report to the SVP of Marketing and run content marketing, social, brand content, and audience development. That deserves a toast. I think I'll order one in the mail. It's never too early to think about September of 2016, especially when it can save you big dough if you've made a habit of going to Content Marketing World every year. Registration is open, and although the post-convention surveys asked about other possible cities, you're going back to Cleveland. September 6th through 9th, you can go to the 6th annual yearly thing of Joe Polizzi and Company. Just try to be bored with over 150 sessions covering 14 tracks going on. Now, we won't know who the speakers are until January. Maybe that's why you get a shot at the best rates you'll ever get to this from now until December 31st at contentmarketingworld.com. And no, this isn't an ad, and no, they didn't pay me, and no, they're not letting me come for free. When you want to chat with a business, how do you do it? Well, however it is, now you can do it using Facebook Messenger on the business's website. Napier Lopez with the Next Web says, say somebody orders food, then, they forgot to add a pickle, or have the gluten removed from the bread. They can correct the order on the restaurant site with a Messenger message box. Messenger Business has been around, and you could message businesses on their Facebook pages, but when you Google a pickles and no gluten restaurant, you'll probably wind up on their website instead of their Facebook page. That's it. The transcript is at brandcontentstudios.com.